There's nothing quite like flipping through the racks at a local record shop, not knowing what treasures you're gonna stumble across. And recently, I hit the jackpot with 4 jazz vinyl LPs that absolutely blew me away. We've got jazz fusion, jazz funk, smooth grooves, and even some funky soul thrown into the mix. So in today's video, I'm gonna share those pickups with you, talk a bit about the artists, the albums themselves, and the tracks that really stood out to me. If you've ever wondered what gems might be hiding in your local record shop, stick around, because these finds might just inspire your own hunt. Welcome back to Jazz Inspires. I'm Joe, and on this channel we dive into top 10 album lists, jazz album reviews, jazz album recommendations, and of course jazz vinyl finds just like this. If you're new here and love exploring all corners of the jazz world, you've found your tribe. Let's kick things off with what I think is probably the most historically significant pickup of the bunch, and that would be Larry Coryell's Spaces. Released in 1970 on Vanguard, this album is often regarded as one of the first true jazz fusion records. At the time, Coryell was already earning a reputation as the godfather of fusion, blending the freedom of jazz with the fire of rock guitar. And the lineup on this album is ridiculous. John McLaughlin on guitar, Chick Corea on piano, Miroslav Vitu on bass, and Billy Cobham on the drums. It's basically a fusion all-star session, captured just before bands like Return to Forever and Mahavishnu Orchestra would take off. The opening track, Spaces Infinite, is exactly that, infinite. It's exploratory and atmospheric, with Coryell and McLaughlin weaving these interlocking guitar lines that sometimes feel like a conversation, sometimes like a duel. Then you've got the track Chris, which has this beautiful blend of delicacy and intensity. It's not just about showing off chops, but about creating something truly emotional. What struck me most about this record is how fresh it still sounds. Even over 50 years later, it doesn't feel dated. It's a record that reminds me why crate digging is so rewarding, because you sometimes unearth albums that literally changed the direction of the music. Next up, a complete vibe shift. Ronnie Laws' Fever. Released in 1976 on Blue Note, this is pure jazz funk goodness. Ronnie is of course the younger brother of flutist Hubert Laws, but by the mid-70s he was carving out his own space, with a sound that blended jazz, funk and soul in a way that was both commercially appealing and musically solid. One of my favourite tracks here is Let's Keep It Together. It's got that unmistakable mid-70s funk energy, tight grooves, sharp horn lines, and Ronnie's saxophone gliding right over the top. It just makes you want to move. And then there's Captain Midnight, which leans into a more mysterious, late night vibe, but still with that slick groove at the core. What I love about Fever is how it captures that moment when jazz musicians were experimenting with funk rhythms, making jazz more accessible but not losing that musicianship. It's one of those records you put on and you instantly feel like you're sat in the middle of a smoky 70s club with the band locked into the pocket. Before I move on to the next 2 records, I just want to say quickly, if you are enjoying this video, it would be amazing if you could hit the like button. It lets me know that you're really enjoying this type of content, and it also helps other jazz fans to discover the channel. Also, if you're new here and you want to keep exploring jazz with me, don't forget to click the subscribe button. That way you won't miss any future videos. Now, let's continue. Let's fast forward a few years with another Ronnie Laws record, Every Generation, released in 1980 on United Artists. By this point, Ronnie had leaned even further into smooth jazz and soulful grooves. And this album really captures that late 70s, early 80s vibe where jazz, R&B and funk were all blending together. The standout track for me is Young Child, which is just gorgeous. It's melodic, tender, and has that warm, almost nostalgic feel to the production, which was very much of its era. Then there's the track Tomorrow, which is full of optimism. The groove is infectious and Ronnie's playing is as soulful as ever. You can really hear how his sound had matured from the raw funkiness of Fever to something smoother and more polished. I love having both of these albums in the collection because they almost work as a timeline. One foot in the raw energy of the 70s and the other stepping into the slick sophistication of the 80s. Finally, let's talk about Herbie Mann's Waterbed, released in 1975 on Atlantic. Now, Herbie Mann is a fascinating figure. He was one of the first jazz musicians to really embrace world music influences, bringing Brazilian bossa nova and Afro-Cuban rhythms into jazz long before it was fashionable. But in the 70s, he also wasn't afraid to dive headfirst into funk and soul. Some people criticized him for being too commercial, but honestly, albums like Waterbed show just how much fun jazz can be when it's not taking itself too seriously. The track Paradise Music has this smooth, almost breezy quality that will instantly lift your mood, while the track Body Oil leans harder into funk. The bass line is thick, the groove is undeniable, and Herbie's flute just dances over the top. This isn't a record you put on to study chord changes. It's one you put on to feel good. And to me, that's just as valid a side of jazz as the more experimental or cerebral stuff. It's playful, it's funky, and it's a perfect addition to the collection. So, those are my latest jazz vinyl LP pickups. Larry Coryell with some groundbreaking fusion, Ronnie Laws showing both his funky and smooth sides, and Herbie Mann bringing the fun with Waterbed. 4 albums, 4 different flavors of jazz, all picked up from one record shop trip. That's the magic of crate digging. You never know what you're gonna come home with. If you've enjoyed this video, click the like button, and if you haven't done so already, click the subscribe button. It helps the channel massively and it means I can keep bringing you more jazz content. And if you want to continue hanging out with me here on the Jazz Inspires YouTube channel, I'll put a video in the corner for you to click on now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.